Coming back. Time for the start of week number 5 of our 2023 NFL team previews. I am Jim Derry, and this is bet.NOLA.com, powered by the Dattitude Podcast. The Buffalo Bills are the 17th of our 32 previews. What do we think? The Buffalo Bills. How many years have we been saying now? Josh Allen, greatest quarterback ever. He's going to beat Patrick Mahomes this year. The Bills are going to go to the AFC Championship. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. They're going to win the whole thing. We've been saying it over and over. But maybe, just maybe, no, just hear me out. This could be the year. It really could be. I could be Santa Claus, but this really could be the year. Stick with us. I mean, you can't really say the two words Buffalo and Bills without saying favorite. Well, actually, this year you can because they're not the favorite anymore. It's the Kansas City Chiefs who are the favorite. So the Buffalo Bills kind of falling back a little bit. You see some of the numbers here. Right off, we're going to the numbers on the screen. Don't you just love it? 900. Plus 900. We'll get to that in a little bit. But last year, we came into this year, came to this spot last year at this time. I'm going to spit it out eventually. They were somewhere along the lines of plus 600. At one point in the season, it got as low as plus 525. That means 5.25 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, to get through everything and win the Super Bowl. Didn't necessarily happen that way. Josh Allen and this team kind of had a little setback, just like they did in 2022, where they went through this little mini funk. Lasted like 3 or 4 weeks. They lost back-to-back games to the Jets and the Vikings. Yeah, the Jets aren't the same Jets they are this year either. They were then unimpressive against the Browns and the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. Remember that game where they had to hold on and win late while you were eating your turkey, and you're like, yeah, this game might put me to sleep. Because it kind of did. Then they seemed to get things back together. They were primed for a deep run. Possibly Joe Q Public was going to be right about this team. The media, everything was going to be right. And then safety DeMar Hamlin, we know what happened to him. Thank God he's back this year and that he's okay. But that kind of changed things. That made things a little bit weird. They came back the next week and they played great. They beat New England. Then they got into the playoffs and they just kind of like were there. Not the year that Bills Mafia was expecting. They had to beat the Dolphins and really kind of got lucky at home. A lot of scoring. A lot of ice, a lot of wind. It was expected to be lower scoring, but it wasn't. And the Dolphins did a nice job. Could be foreshadowing of things to come. But it did not end the way that Bills Mafia certainly hoped for. So what did they do? They went out into the free agent market. They signed guard Connor McGovern. That's going to help them. They didn't do a lot of other signings. They didn't have a whole lot of other signings. They're going to rely on what they already have and maybe a little bit Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but because this offense is what kind of sets the team. As good as their defense is, and you see the numbers on the screen when we talk about both these units here, they're second in offense overall. They're sixth in defense, but really we know that what it comes down to. It comes down to whether Josh Allen can get this team over the hump and whether he can play consistent over the course of 17 regular season games and into the playoffs. Sure, they've been better than the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. Maybe not Cincinnati. Here and there, they've been better than Cincinnati. But you know what? It's not going to be just those 3 teams this year. It's not going to just be Kansas City. It's not going to just be Cincinnati. I mean, obviously the Jets are making noise in their own division. The Jets and Miami are already making noise. That's why starting off with Buffalo is so interesting, because a lot of people think that this is the year the Bills don't even win the division. You see on the screen, you can get money. Plus 125. They're giving you plus money for the Bills to win the division. What's got to go right? Coach Sean McDermott in his 7th season with this Buffalo Bills team. And, it was a little tough for McDermott last year because Brian Daboll had left to become the Giants coach. Obviously, there was a transition period there. but it didn't seem to hurt them early on. It was that middle of the season funk again. They have to find a way to get past that, and McDermott's got to find a way to get past the rushing game. They still have James Cook, who's going to help them. Goal line situations, can he help get things done? Again, still, Josh Allen. Josh Allen's the one that runs touchdowns in as much as anyone else. So let's look at the receiving core. Stephon Diggs is back, and Gabe Davis, also a number 2 receiver. So you start with Stephon Diggs. As long as he stays healthy, he's one of the top receivers in the NFL. There's no question about it. Gabe Davis, to me, is the interesting number 2 receiver. He could be one of the most unsung receivers in the NFL because he took a big step forward. Can he do it once again? He may have to. And then a little secret. Khalil Shakir, the number 3 receiver for these Buffalo Bills, only caught 10 passes last year, was in the shadows, was kind of the number 4, maybe the number 5 receiver. Isaiah McKenzie is left. Shakir should fit into that spot. And if either one of those top 2 receivers gets hurt, Shakir could be in for the kind of year where 600, 700 yards, maybe 6 touchdowns, maybe 7 touchdowns. Could be an interesting year for him. But the tight end position is always important for this team. Dawson Knox is still the number 1. He's still the guy that Josh Allen's going to look for, especially when they get close to the goal line. But they didn't draft number 1 pick, the 25th overall pick, Dalton Kincaid out of Utah for nothing. So Dalton Kincaid already showing in the preseason he is going to get some playing time, and he's going to be key for this offense and this team. Again, you talk about the defense. They have got to be a little bit better in their pass defense. One thing Sean McDermott has been known for throughout his time at Buffalo, and really as a defensive coordinator before that, was to be able to stop the pass. And even at Buffalo, they were able to do that. Although this is a tough division, there's no more year where that's more important than this year when you got Tua, and especially with Aaron Rodgers now with the Jets and the schedule that we're about to get to and talk about. They have got to be able to stop the pass, playing Pat Mahomes every year, playing Joe Burrow every year. They've got to be able to stop the pass. And 15th overall is definitely not going to be good enough to do that. Let's get to their schedule and talk about how that may have an impact on what's going on here. And it starts off innocuous enough, besides the fact they play the Jets on Monday night. Aaron Rodgers' first game as a New York Jet will be at home playing the Buffalo Bills. But then it could be a little winning streak for them. Las Vegas, at Washington, that should be 2 wins. I think people would be shocked. They could be double-digit favorites in both of those games. Then Miami, playing Jacksonville and London, coming back to play the Giants on Sunday Night Football. So, I mean, if you look at this, and then New England and Tampa Bay, there's no reason to think, well, this team couldn't be, I mean, would you be shocked if they were 8-0 when they went to Cincinnati on November 5th? You certainly wouldn't be shocked if they were 7-1. So I think there's an excellent chance of 6-2, 7-1. I think 6-2 is the floor by the time they go to Cincinnati now. And then they're all those numbers that they have now, all these values that potentially are on the board, they might be gone. At Cincinnati, Denver, the Jets again, and then that November 26th game at Philadelphia is when it really starts to get hard. This back end of the schedule is kind of brutal. They don't get their bye week. You know, I'm not usually a fan of late bye weeks, but in this case, it might not be a bad spot for it because they're about to run the gauntlet. At Philly, bye week, at Kansas City, playing the Dallas Cowboys, at the Chargers. Those 4 games right there, that's about as tough a stretch as you will see in the NFL before closing it out against New England and then on the road at Miami before a playoff run once again. You know what? Let's not waste any time. Let's roll the drums. The drum roll, please. You know, I don't like giving things away early in the season, early in the week, excuse me. And I've been doing them all by alphabetical order, so I'm not going to change it now. Buffalo comes first in the AFC East, and you know what? They come first in football, too. I think you're getting value all over the place with this Bills team. Everybody's talking about the Jets. Everybody's talking about the Dolphins. I still think this is the Bills division, and I think that's about the best value you're going to see. This is the year, to me, that you take them. I mean, there are so many people. It's so trendy to pick the Jets or the Dolphins as the winners of the AFC East this year. I think the Bills at plus 125 might be one of the top five values of the year. And this is the year to get them. Remember we told you about that easy schedule, the easier part of the schedule, certainly early on. You're not going to see a plus 900 after week 1 or week 2. You're just not going to get it. Maybe if they lose to the Jets, it might get to 1,000 or something, but I think that's about as good as it's going to get completely advocate for taking that 900. We're going to do it. What about you? What do we think about Miami? Because that's what's tomorrow. Interesting division, maybe the most interesting division in football. Can't wait to talk about the Miami Dolphins, and we thank you for joining us this far, and we'll see you tomorrow.